Officially K-pop hours. How's it going, everybody? We all feeling good today? Let me just start the event right quick so that everyone can get annoying ping. And there we go. We doing good. This is all thanks to Nanda and Sister. Years ago, I had no idea what K-pop was. And then it was Nanda and Sister who was like, yo, show John this song. And it was, I can tell you exactly what song it was. Hold on. It's somewhere in my K-pop playlist. It was... There's so many. uh, hmm hmm I think it was Pop Stars by KDA. And so and then Sister's like, yo, you gotta listen to this song. I'm like, okay. And then I listened to it with my buddy Marcelo. I'm like, you know, it's kind of a vibe, but I don't know if I'm into this. So we did some research. Yes, you did share that song. So we did some research and we're like, if we're going to listen to K-pop, K-pop's already pretty gay, so I don't want to listen to boys doing K-pop. So if we're gonna listen to K-pop, what are the big girl groups? And so I went down the Wikipedia rabbit hole to learn about K-pop. It's like, Girls' Generation was the big girl group to make K-pop go off in the West. I was like, okay, cool. So let's listen to Girls' Generation. I've got this ridiculous music video for one of their biggest songs. That it's like the plot is they're mannequins in a store, and then the store closes, kind of like Toy Story, and then they do their little K-pop cute thing, whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is fun and lighthearted. We go down that rabbit hole some more. I discover Blackpink, and then I get super into Blackpink. And then from there, just continue to diversify my tastes to now I can tell you how many songs or how many hours my K-pop playlist is. 9 hours and 13 minutes. So I have more than a work day's worth of K-pop on my playlist. And again, that's all because of Nandan. So shout out to my boy. That is Lego, yes. I've got Millennium Falcon and then Darth Vader. I can turn the lights on if you guys want. And shout out to your sister, yeah. All right, give me one sec. Wow. I have to close the blinds and stuff as well for it to really pop because there's like a blue strip underneath this part and then a red strip underneath this part. So if I close the blinds and close the shades here, it like it looks super cool. That is Star Wars. Giants by True Damage. Is that a K-pop song or is that just something unrelated? Hold on. Let's see. True Damage. Giants. I can tell by the people's names that they're Korean. So that might be the vibe. I will check that out later. Thank you for the recommendation. All right, friends. So big updates on my side. I think it is, yeah, because on the cover of the album, I recognized one of the characters from Arcane. So I think that probably yes. But I've been thinking this week about tracking and attribution a lot as something that you guys might want to understand more because I've had a few conversations this week about that stuff. So if you guys want to get into that, we could probably spend a good 30, 45 minutes there. Additionally, I've been thinking about ecosystems and kind of like scaling a business as kind of like a publisher as opposed to scaling a single business with just one face of the brand and whatever. So those are the two things I've got top of mind, but we absolutely can talk about creative diversification as well. and I'll show you guys. We can go into Dr. Mike's ad account and I can show you what's running. There's not a ton running right now because we've got limited calendar space because everyone's on vacation for the holidays. But I can show you what we're doing and then how I'm going to roll those things into scaling afterwards. I have never been to South India. Nandan has sold me on Northeast India. I believe that's where UP is. So he's been, I think, for years telling me how beautiful things are when you go into like the countryside and whatever around there. So if I do go to India, that would definitely be one of my locations. But I've never had any friends who are South Indian, so I've never heard anything about South India or like what the expectation should be or where to go if I were to go there. Kerala. Let's check it out together. Hold on, let me just open up a new tab. Wow. Looks pretty sick. I travel. My big thing, I really like geography. I'm like a history, geography, flags nerd. So some of the coolest experiences that I've had were driving through the desert in Wyoming, going towards the Rockies. So you see like these gigantic mountains in the distance, and everything is flat. So you see the same mountain as you're driving for like 6 hours straight, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That was super cool. And then also flying over the Andes, going from Chile into Argentina. That was awesome. I just was stuck to the window the whole time. This looks like a vibe for sure. Come to UP, I give you free stay in exchange for going on membership. You already know. I will do it for sure. Um, yes, there's a lot of really cool stuff in UP that you've told me about. I will name all the geographical formations another time because right now it's office hours. No, I've never been to Costa Rica. I haven't been to too many countries. I've mostly been inside of the US. Traveled more in the US than I have in Canada. I've been to Mexico, but just to like the Northwest in the state of Baja California, which is like right underneath California. Um, Nowhere else in like North or Central America. Then in South America, I've been to Aruba and I stayed there for a month. And I've been to Argentina where I stayed for 3 months. Stopped in Chile for one night just because there was a problem with my flight. So I spent a night in Chile and engaged a little bit with the people in the hotel, but I didn't like go out and explore or anything. And in Europe, I've been to London. I spent 2 or 3 weeks, I can't remember, in London. And then I spent 2 weeks just outside of Amsterdam. And I can't remember, 2 or 3 weeks also in Athens. So not a ton outside of US and Canada. In Canada, I've pretty much just stayed in Quebec the whole time. I've been to Ontario, like Toronto and Ottawa, just like little things like that. In the US, I've lived in New York City, Charlotte, North Carolina, Baltimore, Georgia, in Atlanta, Miami, Austin, Houston. I've never lived in Houston, but I've visited Houston, lived in Austin, lived in Fort Worth, like Dallas, Fort Worth. Lived in Wisconsin, California, and Washington State. So a lot more in the US than anywhere else. What's up, friends? And in 2026, I'm hoping to. Kerala is where Vasco da Gama landed, and we have a church. That is super cool. I do not have a wife, no, but I do have a girlfriend, and she lives in Fort Worth, so that's why that's why I spend like half my year in the U.S. because I'm just living with her in Texas half the time. But in 2026, I'm hoping to not travel too much because I'm kind of burnt out on all the travels. I spent basically all of 2025 traveling. I In 2025, I spent January here, and I just got back like middle of October, and I'm leaving tomorrow again. So I've spent a total of like 3 months at home in 2025. So really, really, really hoping to not have to travel too much in 2026. But in 2026, if I do travel, she is not Korean. My esthetician is Korean. But my girlfriend is American born Vietnamese. I did get burnt out from traveling so much, yeah. So in 2026, if I do travel, it'll probably be for sure to Texas. Lena actually, she's planning on selling her house in summer-ish of 2026 and moving back to Houston, which is where she's from and where all her friends and family are. So potentially spending more time in Houston and not so much in Fort Worth. But outside of that, international travel. When I get Dr. Mike to a point where things are like good and sustainable, what I would like to do is because I haven't really explored Canada too much, I'd like to take a really long train ride from Montreal to Vancouver and then back from Vancouver to Montreal. And then just like if I want to stop along the way, I'll figure that out. But that would be the plan. Like just a cool little thing like that so I can see all the Canadian landscape. Dr. Mike lives in Malaysia and he really wants me to come visit him there. I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I would love to hang out with Dr. Mike, but it's just traveling like that. Like, anyone who's been to Europe or from Europe to America or from America to Europe, like Asia to America or America to Asia, I guess like any longer thing like that where it's like a 6+ hour flight, it's kind of draining and it really sucks. So I'm not in the mood for that right now. Lena does want to go to Lena does want to go to Japan and do like a trip. But when I travel, what I like to do is live like people who live there, right? So, for example, when I was living in Argentina, I did not rent myself like a super nice place and like use my US dollar to take advantage of a weaker economy. I just go and I rent a normal apartment and I live in a normal neighborhood where people would live, right? So that's how I travel. And I just continue working and I do whatever, which is not conducive with how Lena wants to travel because Lena just wants to take like 2 weeks off and go and explore and do stuff, which would be a first for me. So I'd have to figure that out. And then if I do go to Asia and we go to Japan, then at why not stop and visit Dr. Mike in Malaysia? Lena would just fly back home like on her own, and then I would go to Malaysia and then come back after maybe like 2, 3, 4 weeks hanging out with Dr. Mike. So we'll see what happens, but I'm hoping to not travel too much in 2026. I've only got those two things planned, or those two things like in my mind. I'd like to be a little bit more chill about it. I actually, so on the living like the writing from the beach in your underwear lifestyle in 2022 I was doing that. I was working like almost not at all and I was making a lot of money and I really didn't enjoy it. So what I realized is that I like working. Like, I like working so much. I hate not working. So that lifestyle doesn't appeal to me at all. I want to be in a place where it's conducive to my work. Like here, for example, I've got I don't know how many books behind me, right? Like I've got all of my knowledge there. I've got books stacked all along my desk here as well. I've got like two monitors, my laptop, mic setup, camera setup, lighting, right? Like everything conducive to me doing good work more quickly, more effectively. And then I've got another office in the other room in my house where I've got another computer with another monitor with a walking treadmill. That way I can work and like after I eat, I walk for like 30 to 60 minutes. A lot of good reasons to do that. But I do that. And then I've got like my little gym set up in that room as well. It's just like Olympic dumbbells and or Olympic dumbbell handles and plates and a bench and pull-up bar, like nothing huge. But this environment is built for me to be able to work as much as possible and do good work as much as possible. So I really like that, and that kind of takes a hit when I'm traveling. So there are pros and cons, and I'm just in a point in my life. Maybe this will change, but I'm in a point in my life where I really just want to work all the time, and I love working. Will you move to the USA after getting married? Did I ever say I wanted to get married? How did I bag Dr. Mike? That's a good question. Who wants to hear the story of how I landed Dr. Mike as a client? Are we actually interested? Yeah. Okay, cool. So, yes, I can get into GPT workflows if you want to, because I just finished one the other day. So we can do it. But with Dr. Mike, with Dr. Mike, um, the thing that I realized a little while ago, and I spoke about this last week actually, and Sean and Alex talk about this all the time too. The number one way for you to land clients who are going to be easy to work with, who are going to give you a lot of money, who are going to make your life very easy, is networking. With the agency, I was exposed to a lot of people who I worked with, both as clients and coworkers. And because I am so good at what I do, these people see me and they're like, wow, this guy's really good. And I obviously, you guys know how I am. I like talking to people, I like helping people. I spend a lot of time doing that. Office hours, great example. So if you create really good relationships and you show people that you're good and that you want to help, then those people, they'll remember you. And when they move on, if in their network, they're just as a general rule, people are always looking for new people to work with, right? Like there will always be people who need a good copywriter, who need a good strategist, who need a good media buyer. That like every business needs these things. So imagine there are 100 businesses, the churn rate, like it's crazy. Everybody needs people all the time. So I just know a lot of really good people, and everyone who I know thinks that I'm really good and they trust me and they know that I'm like generous and kind and whatever. So probably 2 or 3 times a month, I get people hitting me up like, "Hey, here's an introduction to whoever. Can you help them with whatever?" Like I actually just had one 2 days ago where it's like, "Hey, can you come review our webinar slide decks and like help us with webinar strategy?" And I was like, "No, I don't have capacity." So that's how it happened with Dr. Mike as well. It was my buddy who is a media buyer. He's like one of my really good friends. I love him a lot. He I think he knows Dr. Mike from his network. And so he hits me up and he's like, "Hey, I have literally the best offer. Please come work with me on it." And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, I'm kind of busy. It's whatever." And I was at the time working with Shelby Sapp and working at the agency. So really all of my time was taken. No, not Damien, someone else. This was before I was really tight with Damien, I think. But he throws Dr. Mike my way, and I'm like, okay, fine, we can have a conversation, but like no promises, whatever. And then I get on with Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike is just so kind, such good energy. His offer is really nice, and I'm like, you know what? I would love to work with you on this. Let's do it. So I end up dropping Shelby. I eventually end up quitting the agency. Now Dr. Mike is my full-time thing, but it was really just 100% through network. And so my recommendation for you guys is to meet as many people as possible, have good conversations with as many people as possible, help as many people as possible, just do the things that are not scalable and the things that are not going to generate revenue for you, because those things downstream will have a good positive impact, right? Like anybody who knows me comes to me whenever they need a copywriter, either because they want me to be the copywriter for them or because they know I have a network, you guys, of like hundreds of copywriters who I can refer and help them fill their positions. If anybody needs strategy, if anybody needs media buying, like I will never be out of work for the rest of my life. And I don't have to build a personal brand and I don't have to do anything. All I had to do, which arguably maybe this was doing more work than building a personal brand. But all I had to do was just be nice and help a bunch of people all the time as much as I could. So that's how I got Dr. Mike as a client. That's how I've gotten basically every client. I've got right now like probably 2 or 3 people who I have to respond to, who I have to tell, no, I can't work with you. We're just like unread messages right now. So this is the real pipeline. And when you get intros like that, it's so easy to close because you just hop on a call and then they're like, yeah, I'm already sold on you. Just let's see if we vibe. And then you're done. How do you meet people online? I would say, yeah, like LinkedIn, Facebook groups, Discord groups. That's where my mind would go. And then if you can get work with like agencies and stuff, when you start to make money joining masterminds and paid groups, because in there you'll have people who they obviously like there's a barrier to entry. If I'm paying whatever it is, like $100 a month to get access to a group, the people who are in there are naturally going to be more serious. So that gives you better opportunities as well. If you are not in the Nothing Held Back job boards group, that's a pretty easy win. It's not like a networking group, it's a job group, obviously. But if you get into there, then you'll see jobs coming up all the time. And you can also just talk to the people in there and make the connections. If you're on social media like LinkedIn, Instagram, if you're commenting on people's stuff, eventually you become a recognized face to them. Like if, for example, if I'm trying to build a personal brand and I always go to Nandan, so I'll say Nandan. Starts commenting on my stuff. After 3 or 4 times of seeing Nandan commenting on my stuff, I start to recognize Nandan's name, and then if he hits me up, I'm like, oh, hey, that's the guy who's commenting on my stuff. And then it's very easy to do that, like same on LinkedIn or whatever. Helping a personal brand is so freaking hard. I'm going to assume you meant building a personal brand is so freaking hard. And yes, but so is everything in life. Yeah, how Ayub got his current gig, like anyone who's got good work, they were handed that good work by somebody who they know who trusted them. And then are not secretly in a relationship, we are openly in a relationship. Did I miss any questions? We can, if not, I know, yes, that's not a question related to this, but if there are any more questions just about like clients and stuff, we can go through those. If not, then we've got a few other things that we'll start getting into. Where did you live in Washington? I lived there for 6 years. It was an island with a naval base on it that is a little bit south of the Canadian border. I can tell you the exact name if you give me a moment. Oak Harbor is where I lived in Washington. Yeah, just outside of Seattle. Great advice for people who are good. What you got for noobs? Get good. Yes. I learned today most businesses have DM setters, so they basically get your outreach messages correct. But it kind of it's contextual, so yes, but also. All right, so Cardio Mason said to Venmo, the DM setter $10 to get them on your side. I love that. Cardinal Mason definitely has never said anything that was incorrect, and also he's extremely goated. You can check what we think of him if you go into Gen Chat and click on the channel description. Good night, Nandan. I'll see you later. Do you guys want to start with 1, GPT workflow, 2, creative and creative strategy, 3, attribution and analytics? Or I feel like there was a 4th thing as well. Oh yeah, like ecosystem buildouts and stuff. GPT workflow, 3 votes. I do miss Paul a lot. It's been 3 years since I have had physical contact with Paul. It was in October of 2022 that we saw each other last. All right, GPT workflows. Check out this based shit that I'm on. All right, we've got here the Sculpt by Science Ideation GPT, the Sculpt by Science Script Outline GPT, and the Sculpt by Science script writing GPT. Regardless of what you're trying to achieve, the general logic is the same. So what you'll see here is that you essentially, when you're building GPTs or when you're building any like custom LLM thing, whatever you're trying to do, you want to figure out how you would do the process, and then you use that as your workflow for the GPTs, right? And you have to understand the limitations of a large language model. And as you consider the limitations, that's how you decide how many GPTs you're going to build out, but then also where you need the human touch. Good luck, Paul. Custom LLM, custom large language model. So large language model is just the type of technology that these AI platforms are built with. A large language model is the thing that goes and retrieves the data and then gives you the output. I definitely can zoom in, but I will not right now because it's not super important what's here. First, we need to talk about the theory. So the theory of building a custom AI workflow is, number one, figure out what the steps are that you would do. Number two, isolate those into outcomes. And then number three, figure out the steps to get you from the starting of that to the ending of that. For example, with this script writing workflow, if I think to myself, how would Jonathan write a YouTube script? Well, the first thing I would do is find inspiration. So I would go onto software like this, for example. Sorry. There we go. So I would go onto software like this, for example, and then I would find videos that are from creators who I want to model. I would find stuff that has popped off for them recently, and then I would pick one of these. So right away, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, cool. 4 minutes of life-changing Stoic advice looks kind of cool. Let me go and do something like that, right? And with with this selection, then I have the idea for my my title for the video, my idea for the thumbnail for the video, and then my idea for the content for the video. The same way, like if you're swiping an ad, you're going to go into an ad library, you're going to find an ad that you want to emulate, and then you're going to look at what is the primary text copy, what is the copy on the graphic or the video script, how do they deliver it, right? And you're going to consider all those things. So let's say I want to go with this video, 4 minutes of life-changing Stoic advice. I watch it, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Then what's next? Next, I'm going to break it down and templatize it. If you've read the copywriting cheat code, you know how I do that. And you know that that's like the basis for everything that I do. So find the example, and then break it down and templatize it. And then what's after that, I fill in the template with my information, right? So of course it gets a little bit more complex than that, but that's basically what it is here. So I know, okay, cool. I need to find inspo, and then I'm going to upload that inspiration into ChatGPT and have it analyze the video. And then I'm going to need to decide on what is my idea for my new video, what is the payoff for my new video, what are the stakes for my new video. Stakes is like what, or payoff is what they gain, stakes is what they risk if they don't watch the video. What are the possible objections that they might have? Then we would have to come up with a title that aligns with all of this. Then we would have to create an outline for the video, and then we would have to build a script based on the outline. And then we probably want to provide visual directions to the team, like to the editor and to the person filming, and then we would need to edit. So that's basically my process. If I then break it down to what are the what are the objectives within this process? Objective number one is find inspiration figure out how to model it. Then objective number 2 is create an outline, and then objective number 3 is fill in that outline. So those are the 3 GPTs that I have so far. I might add in something about the visual directions and stuff. I might add in something about editing, but right now I just tested the script writing GPT as an editor, and it does pretty well. So I might just leave it in there. Not sure though, this workflow is probably going to change at some point. But knowing that those are the 3 objectives that I have. Would be a weird question, but what about when you don't know about the process? Well then, figure out the process. Like, you can't build something if you don't know what you're trying to build. How much time does it take? This took me about 2 weeks to build and then test. So I'm still in the test. Well, I'm in the refining phase right now because I've written 2 scripts with this workflow. So I'm just I'm testing it with all the different possible variables, pretending like I'm not me and I'm not large language models as much as I do. What are the possible breaking points, and then fixing all those things. So currently, this is, I guess, like the 2.5-ish week mark of me working on these, but just to build all of this out, it took me 2 weeks. Next one will probably be a lot quicker because there are little things that I figured out while I was doing this. I've never done a big multi-level workflow to this point or to this extent before, but it works pretty well, so it's good. So once you determine all of these things, then you want to build basically like what is the workflow within each of these GPTs, and then what assets do I need in order to get this workflow to the point where the GPT knows what I know and will be able to do this well enough. So for whenever you're building a GPT or any large language model, custom, whatever, you don't need to give it a ton of information. Actually, if you give it more information, it risks getting more confused. So you want to try to keep it as minimal as possible. In this case, every time, here you can see on the left side, these are just all the things that I was working on for this. This is just variation 1, this is variation 2, so better and optimized. But then these, like the video title templates, video thumbnail copy templates, hook templates, objection busting templates, curiosity gap templates, like all of these, those are for the knowledge base. So we'll get into that after. But when you're creating an instruction set, you want to give it context. So tell it, like, this is who you are, and this is what you're trying to do. Behavior rules, this is how it's going to act through the entire process. Error handling rules is, if something goes wrong, what should it do? This is just kind of like a safeguard, because if you give it very rigid instructions and then the user asks it to do something that goes against the instructions, it could be like, no, I'm not allowed to do that. And then memory storage rule is just like, remember everything. And then we have the workflow. So when you're starting, give it the context, give it the rules, and then give it the workflow. And that'll help you build basically how it's going to interact with you and what the input output needs to be. So context is, you are this is what you're trying to do. Everything that you write, you can write in a format like this, where the pound symbol is your header. So this is H1, this is H2, right? So that's just like your categorization, so that it understands how things are segmented within your doc. Like, okay, cool, this is a section on context, this is a section on behavior rules, this is a subsection within behavior rules, this is a subsection within behavior rules, this is the section workflow automation, this is step 1 within workflow, this is step 2 within workflow, these are sub steps within step 1, right? Like things like that. So that helps it classify. And then the little star like this is just when you're doing bullets. So this is a list. And then space dash space is that's like a sub bullet, right? So this is my main bullet, and then this is my sub bullet here. And that's how you write in a way that is easier for it to read. So do all of this, write out my workflow. So, okay, cool, step 1 has to be this, step 2 has to be this, step 3 has to be this, step 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. And then inside of there, in this one, I don't need any additional like templates or anything like that, because all I need this one to do is to analyze the video and then find ways that I can improve it for my avatar. If I know that that's my goal, then what will I need in the knowledge base to help this? Well, if I had a preloaded avatar doc, that would make things a lot easier because then it could just ask me, which avatar are you writing for? And I would tell it, Avatar B, Michael Chen. And then it would pull all of the information already from that avatar doc. So it would have that instead of me needing to input each time, right? So it could find the pains and the desires and the objections and all that based on my avatar doc. And then it can use that as it's building the new outline or as it's analyzing the old script, which makes things a lot quicker for me because then I don't need to input that and I don't need to look and be like, oh, well, what if we said this about this desire here or whatever. So that is how I built that one. And then you can see the output. Let me just add it here. So here, my example is from School of Greatness, I think is his channel. But 5 ways to make anyone respect you instantly is the name of the old video. GPT gives me the video idea after it scans the transcript, the video tone, style, and language after it scans the transcript. It gives me the structure broken down by section. So that's my hook, part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever. And then it analyzes based on my avatar, what are the missing gaps, what are the missing pains, what are the missing objections, what are the missing angles, what are the missing opportunities. And then based on that, what is my new idea, what is my new payoff, what are my new stakes, and what can I do for a new video structure. Here in my video structure, you can see that I gave it the, in the instructions, I'm like, okay, cool, when you do a hook, you need to give me the context, the proof, the structure, the motivation, and the setup. When you give me the sections, you need to do whatever. When you give me CTA 1, you need this information. When you give me CTA 2, you need this information. So all of that happens, this takes about an hour to do with the first GPT in the workflow. And then I go into GPT number 2, which is my outline GPT, and you can see it's formatted the exact same way. Context, behavior, workflow. And with this one, I know that I want it to generate the hook. Well, actually, I want it to start by generating my titles, my thumbnails, my hook. Each section is going to have setup, tension, payoff, and curiosity. There's going to need to be a subscribe CTA. There's going to need to be CTA 1, which is an offer CTA, and then there's going to need to be CTA 2, which is a brand CTA. So knowing that, what do I have to do? Just put that into the workflow, and then what assets do I need to support it? A GPT or whatever large language model, they're not going to be able to, they will to a certain extent, but they're not going to be able to give you the kind of output that you're looking for if you're looking for specific formats or best practices, because they're just scraping the internet. So if I say, give me 10 high converting video titles, then it's going to look through the internet and be like, in my internet scraping, what are the blog articles titled How to Write a High Converting YouTube Title? What do they say to do? Let me do that. Right? So you don't know what information you're accessing. But if you give it, in this case, like my title templates, I've got all of the templates that I would want it to use, all the things that I would use if I were writing myself. So I'm like, okay, cool, here's a template that I really like, here's an example. And whenever you give it templates, you always want to give it template and example so it can see the application. Then here you can also see if you go into the rules or the workflow, it's like, okay, cool, reference this here. So in the part where it's talking about generating titles, I tell it to reference the video title templates doc that it has in its knowledge base. So it goes in, grabs those, and then it already has, like, the first step is to input everything from the ideation phase. So I grab everything from here down. So like all of this. And I just paste it in and I'm like, okay, cool. So here's all the information. Now help me generate the title, help me generate the thumbnail, help me generate the new outline. And so it throws all of this over to me. The most important thing to understand is that it will give you usually good enough outputs, but you also want to have a little bit of back and forth with it. You don't want to expect it to do everything on its own. So if it hits you with, like, here are 10 draft titles that I think would be good, Then you look at them and you're like, well, actually, I would like it more to align with this part of the idea. For example, here I'm like, well, I needed to, let's say, call out the executive because I don't want the wrong people clicking on this video. So can you revisit these titles and make sure that they've got a call out that would only attract these people? It'll be like, sure, cool, 10 new titles. And I'm like, okay, cool. I really like this, this, and this, but actually let's modify it. Let's go with a different angle for this one. And so you just keep iterating like that until you get the output that you want. And you're like, okay, cool, next step. Let's do the thumbnails now. So it gives me the thumbnails, and then I do the same thing, and then it gives me the hook, and I do the same thing, and then, right, just like all the way through. So you do that, and you also, as you're doing these things, once you write out your first workflow, you want to have a good night, my friend. You want to be testing it and seeing what the output is that it gives you. And based on your input and all the stuff that you're like just keeping in mind as you're working with these things, you want to go back and modify your instructions and give it very clear instructions to negate the things that you're seeing that are bad or to do more of the stuff that you're seeing that's good if you need to do that. For example, if I'm like, cool, now it's time to generate the script, and it goes and gives me all of the script in one shot, then I want to go into my instructions and add in a line that's like, you must not generate the whole script in one shot. Do it section by section, so give me section 1. And then wait for me to confirm that section 1 is good and doesn't need modifications. And then give me section 2. And then wait, right, and write that out. That way it's easier to manage because if you get a really big output, it's going to be harder for you to modify it. And also the AI is not going to do as well on a really long output versus a shorter output. So there are a lot of things to consider, but as you're building these things out, just make sure to test them and then go back and modify your instructions accordingly. And then we've got the script writing part. So this is same concept where we just have the instructions laid out the same way. Context, rules, workflow, and then it goes through that. And it's got the templates and it's got a brand voice guide at this point, and it's got examples of other high performing YouTube videos. So then it's able to do that. Now, once I get more data from our channel specifically, or this is for a new channel, we already have the other channel. Once I get more data for this channel specifically, then I'm going to take our highest performing scripts from there, and then I'll upload them and be like, these are the scripts that have worked for us so far. Use those and model those, right? So no matter what you're doing, keep in mind that you want to create your workflow, compartmentalize it so that you have one GPT for one specific task or Claude project or whatever, for one specific task, and that you as the human need to be involved so that you can modify the output and get it to be more aligned with what you want. So I'll show you, for example, with so this one here, you can see me going back and forth with it a little bit. And I'll just show you from the start. Okay, there we go. So it asks me for the YouTube ideation GPT output and the YouTube script outline GPT output. So here it is, boom, boom, boom. And then it asks me to confirm it or if I want to change it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now let's work on the hook. So it asks me how I would, if I want to rework the hook at all, how I want to rework it. It gives me 3 options, and I'm like, or 5 options, I guess. And I'm like, cool, I like this, but can we just modify some stuff here? We go back and forth on the hook for a little while, and then we go into the sections. And you can see that it gives me all the sections at the same time. I've tried to prevent that with instructions, but it doesn't listen. So I just corrected. I'm like, okay, let's go just section by section, start with section 1. Okay, cool. What could we do here? Let's change this. Let's do that. Perfect. Awesome. And I do that all the way through, each time pasting the script so that it keeps the through line essentially. And then I'm also asking it for revisions as I'm going through it. So I'm like, okay, what do you think of this? How could we improve that? And by the time we get to the end, then we have a full script, and I tested it earlier to see if it would be able to give me feedback on different things. Because you'll see up here I have a manual like editing checklist. So I just fed it these to see if it would be able to do it, and it did it pretty well. So from start to finish, I was able to do this script like 4.5 to 5 hours from no idea what I want to write to full script that is going to be probably about 10 minutes long. I saw a question earlier come in about prompts. Let me just find it. Do you use AI for market research? I'll answer that in a sec. Where is the best place to learn the art of prompting? I don't know because I have never like learned AI from anybody else. Well, no, like AI info gurus. I learned about large language models when I was working with an AI company called Coveo. They're based in Montreal. They've got $1 billion valuation, like really, really big company, crazy smart people working there. They do large language models for enterprise, and this was before ChatGPT and stuff was really popular. So I learned all about how large language models work from there because I had to read through the documentation and all that. So I just needed to understand how these things worked. And by understanding that, then that gives you the opportunity to do stuff like this. I'm sure that there are people who are a lot deeper into this than I am. I kind of just 80/20 it. There are people who will tell you, like, yeah, your exact word choice, if you were to ask it to define something versus analyze something versus review something, that'll affect it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it will. But, like, at what point does does that become more helpful to me to like spend the hours going through and finding the single word difference? So to me, what I pay attention to when I'm prompting is just give it as much context as possible. And then with the context that you give it, if it understands what you're asking for, it'll be able to give you a better answer. So give it as much context as you need to give it the information, and then give it as much context as you need to tell it where to retrieve the information, and then as much context as you need to get it to output the correct information. So, for example, if you, I'm good, but I appreciate the offer. If you need it to, let's say, do market research, because there was Bro who asked that. Oh, okay. There was Bro who asked that earlier about like, do you use AI for market research? The answer is yes, for sure. I use Perplexity because I really like Perplexity for research. And the way that I'll do that is, okay, Perplexity, this is what I'm looking for. I am a marketer. I'm working with a company that does done with you Amazon scaling, and they target Amazon sellers who are generating $1 million plus in revenue. Right now, I'm writing a meta ad script that's going to be focused on this specific offer, and I get the details of the offer. And I would like to search social media and online forums to find sellers like this to understand what their pain points are related to an offer like this. Right, so just give it as much context as possible, and then it'll know who you are, what you're looking for, where to look for it, and then what to give you as the output. And then it'll give me the output, and let's say I'm like, okay, cool. Actually, what would be really helpful is if we could rank these by like just 1 to 10 based on how frequently you see them appear in the data that you've looked at. And then it'll rank them. And then I'm like, okay, cool. What would help me actually is if you told me the justification, like why do you think each of these things would resonate, right? And then just get all that information. And as you do it more and more, you'll realize, okay, cool, I can put all of this into the same prompt, or I need to divide this into different prompts. And then you'll figure out kind of your own workflow for doing research. But that's how I do it. So I can actually walk you through it right now, just if you want to see an example. I would always turn on the research mode as opposed to the search mode. And then also turn on whatever. Oh, I got rid of academic. That's crazy. Oh, there we go. I would also turn on social or whatever sources you think would be helpful. But here it's like, I'm a marketer working with a brand called Sculpt by Science. We offer holistic health coaching for executives, entrepreneurs, and high performers. Um, I'm working on a funnel. The offer is going to be a cookbook. The offer will be priced at $9.99. I would like help doing audience research for the ads and landing pages I'm going to write for this offer. Could you search social media and online forums to find the biggest desires, pains, and objections that an audience like this would have related to the purchase of a ticket book offer? Please give me the top 5 desires, pains, and objections as you see them in the social media channels and forums. Please rank them by frequency and tell me why you think they are important for me to include in my copy. Um, Also, please include quotes and sources so that I can verify everything you reference. Then we're going to give it probably 3 or 4 minutes just that it loads. If you do it on research mode, it just takes a while because it's going through a lot more sources. Um, and once you get that output, then you can just do whatever you want. Another really useful thing, if you're working with a client who does sales calls, if you can get access to their sales calls, get the transcripts of those, load them up into Perplexity or wherever else. I just use Perplexity for everything that's research. But if you can load those up, then be like, please scan all of these and tell me whatever answers. And that's super helpful too. So you can get all the information that you need to build out your profile for your avatar from the people who you know are getting on the sales calls and buying. Right? So just specify to your client that you want the sales calls from the people who ended up purchasing, and you can use those transcripts to pull the information. Super, super, super helpful, and saves you from having to go through all of the everything all the time. I would still recommend going through the sales calls yourself, just so that you can validate what the AI is telling you, but also so that you can get to hear like the quirks and the mannerisms and the nonverbal stuff. And this then will allow you to, I'll just show you the avatar profile I have built out. Avatar is called Michael Chen, and everything about him is in this big ass doc. There you can see this is based on my research, not on sales calls, but 92 pages on the main doc, and then in this part of the doc where I put dimensionalized scenarios, we've got 137 pages. So we've got about 250 pages of research this took me another like 2 weeks probably, but it was done a lot more quickly thanks to AI versus the time that it would have taken me if I were to do it on my own. This is basically everything about my boy and very specific pointed questions at the large language model in order for it to generate this stuff for me. If we go back here, almost done. And there we go. So if I were writing for this audience, trying to sell them a $9.99 cookbook, time saving and simplicity, is a big desire. Sustained energy and mental performance is a big desire. Simple, practical recipes is a big desire. Variety without meal fatigue. Results oriented transformation. So there you go. Now I know what to put into my copy in order to speak to these people. I could also go on Amazon and go through like cookbook reviews and stuff and add those, which I would probably do. Just like throw all those into a doc and then throw it into a knowledge base. Get it to analyze all that. But if I do that, then it's just that there's no way for me to validate who that's coming from. Another really cool thing. If you go onto Reddit, for example, I feel like I'm spending way too much time on meal planning and grocery shopping. I can go into this person's user profile, and then I can check whether or not they are the type of person that I want to target. That was blinding. I hate that. And if they are, then I can also go through all of their posts, all of their comments, and see if there are other things about this person that I can learn that would help me with my modeling of the avatar. So this person, probably not it, because it seems like it's a woman and I'm targeting men with the current funnel for Sculpt by Science. But I guess the cookbook's going to be for everybody, so it'll be whatever. But I could go into this user. Let's see how to cook chicken. So talking about chicken cooking, not super informational. Getting downvoted, RIP. I can understand why. It's someone's name, so capitalize it. I'm a stuck up bitch. Project management. So potentially this person's a PM. Yeah, it looks like they've got a lot in the project management. Estranged adult kids, so not a good relationship with their parents. Probably lives in Annapolis, wherever that is. Annapolis, Maryland. So there you go. You can start very easily building. I guess they work from home. They work in IT. So they're an project manager, probably working for some corporate. So there you go. Start to build out a profile. Very, very easy. Oh yeah, this is all for side projects for like targeting women with dating and like personal development and stuff. In your experience, have you ever needed to do the research yourself after Perplexity has already done its own research? As a copywriter, the real thing that's going to give you an advantage is knowing your audience better than anybody else knows their audience. So yes, we can do this. Imagine what Meta and Google can do. Watch this. I'll show you what Google can do. Damn, that's crazy. Look at all these results. But that's the AI talk for today. So anybody have any questions about this stuff, or you want to move on? Can AI help you build GPTs? Yes, it can. You can just ask it, like if I were. Oh yeah, no, for sure. It's crazy the kind of stuff that these like the tech giants, the data that they have access to is insane. If you ask a GPT to help you build a GPT, that can be a good starting point. But it will lead you down a path that is way too complex, and that'll probably mess up your GPT in the long run. So it's better to learn the fundamentals and then just do like the minimum viable product, as opposed to trying to optimize it with another AI helping you. Good. Did I miss any questions? I assume no. All right. So, do you guys care about tracking and attribution, or does that not matter at all to any of you? And we got one vote for yes, several people typing to say no. All right, cool. So, tell me in chat when I say tracking and attribution, what does that actually mean? And while you guys answer that, I'll just answer the Michael Chen avatar doc is so long. Does an AI hallucinate when you feed it to AI? Yes and no. If you just give it a huge doc, then it'll have a hard time. I don't think it would hallucinate because it's not like it is long, but it's not that long. And also it's categorized. So if I ask it pull the pain points, then it knows to go to like all of this is set up with proper headings and bullets and stuff like that. So if I ask it pull the pain points, it knows it only needs to go to this one section and then read this. So that's how many words? That's less than 100 words that it needs to go through. Versus if I just throw in a huge doc with like no labeling and nothing else going on, then it's going to have a hard time. Probably. No one has any idea what tracking attribution means? Nope. All right. All good. So this is actually something that's really, really important if you're going to be, for sure, if you're going to be a strategist, if you're going to be doing anything relating to media buying, if you're going to be doing anything related to creative testing or to more data-driven copywriting. Um, that is part of it, yeah. Letting the algorithm know where to credit the conversion. I will I will not slander AI's use of M dashes. But tracking attribution, essentially, when you're working on a project, you're going to have a funnel, right? So in my case, my funnel it's a very, very simple one where it's a call funnel, the HPM VSL for high performing mail video sales letter. We go from a meta ad to a VSL page with an application. People fill in the application. Are they qualified or disqualified? If they're disqualified, they go into this flow. If they're qualified, they go into this flow. They land on a booking calendar page. If they book, then they go into this flow. If they don't book, they go into this flow. So we've got all of this very, very streamlined. It's just like, did they qualify? Did they book? Those are the only two choices to make. Now, I'm only sending meta traffic to this, so it's pretty simple. But I could also be sending email traffic to this. I could be sending Instagram traffic to this. I could be sending YouTube traffic to this. So that's where all of this starts to get a little bit more complicated. With this example, we'll just stick to meta ads. So the attribution part of this is going to be very, very easy to understand. All of the people who are coming into this funnel are coming in from meta ads, right? I know that, well, I shouldn't say all because someone could realistically just take the link, share it with somebody else, and then that person did not see an ad, but now they're in the funnel. So that would be like, oh no, right? But whatever. Um, if our only source is meta ads, then I know that everything that I see is going to be a meta ad attribution. So I don't need to make my stuff too complicated here. Here you can see we've been running the funnel since September. Right now it's December, so this is the final row. All of this is formulas, so it auto-populates based on data that's pulling from other sheets, which is really cool, or other tabs within this sheet. And you can also see that we're not doing too hot in terms of sales. So we closed 0. This is actually just a person who upgraded. Closed 0 in November. and we are working on the sales process, but the marketing is going good. So what we've got here then is we've got the ad performance, and we've got the funnel performance. Emails, we haven't really started doing anything on email yet, so we're good there. Then we've got my apps, and we've got my bookings. So the first important thing to keep in mind when you're building out a spreadsheet like this is, oh no, BizOff people cannot sell health offers, because when you can't promise a ridiculous amount of money in 0 time, then how are you going to sell? That was actually the problem in November, is we had a BizOff guy as our sales guy, and he did not know how to sell health offers. So when you're creating a spreadsheet like this, first thing that you need to do is figure out what are all of the important metrics that you need to track. There are going to be ad metrics, and there are going to be funnel metrics, and there are going to be sales metrics, right? If you just think of it through step by step, you've got your ads, and then you've got your funnels, and then you've got the sales calls, right? So what are the steps in each of those that I need to pay attention to? For the ads, it would be everything here. These last two are like, they're not directly determined by the ads. These are just factors of the ad and the sales. But let's just say these four. These four, my source of truth is going to be my Meta account. So I'm going to go into my Meta Business Manager, and then I'm going to look at my spend. That's important for me to know, like how much do we spend on a certain day. My CPM, which is my cost per 1,000 impressions. So for every 1,000 times that my ad appears, how much am I spending on that? Number of clicks that it generated, the click-through rate. So of 100 people who saw my ad, how many of them clicked through? And then my cost per click, which is determined by my spend and my clicks. The reason why it's important for me to know these metrics is that this is going to help me diagnose if there's something wrong with the ads. If I see, for example, that my spend stays, let's just say it stays at $500 over this last 7-day period-ish, we're at about $540. So my ad spend, it does fluctuate because the way that Meta and Google as well, but the way that they do ad spend is that they don't do it exactly day by day, they do it averaged over a certain period. So Meta, I know from my 1 week, it's going to hit my spend target, even if I'm telling it 500 per day, which comes up to 3,500 per week. Excuse me, if I tell it 500 per day, there are going to be some days where it spends maybe 300, and then another day where it spends 800. Right, so it's going to fluctuate like that, but by the end of the 7-day period, it's going to get to my spend target. So it's going to do that, and that's why you see, like here we've got a day where we've got 500, here we've got a day where we've got just a little bit above 400, here we've got 600, 500, 600, 550, 550, 550, 800, 300, 300, right? So it does fluctuate a lot like that. But your ad spend, based on whatever you're doing, if you're scaling, whatever, that's something you can control directly, and then Meta just kind of optimizes it. Your CPM. This is important to know, because if you see, just so that it can optimize better for you, if it sees, for example, on Tuesday, you never get any leads, why would it want you to spend your money on Tuesday? Because then you're going to get upset and you're going to crank your ad spend down so they make less money. But if it automatically drops your ad spend on Tuesday, and then it sees Thursday is always a really good day for you, it increases the ad spend on Thursday, you're going to see better results overall, so you're going to want to spend more. Right? As opposed to if you get crazy swings in your results, then you're going to be less confident. You're probably going to reduce your ad spend if you see that you've got 2 or 3 days in a row where you're not getting results. So it's just the algorithm being smart and giving you better results. Your CPM, that's determined by your messaging and your audience. So the CPM, essentially the way that advertising, just in general online, the way that advertising works is that it's a bidding system. So if I'm trying to show an ad to someone and you're trying to show an ad to someone, I'm willing to pay $100 to show that ad. You're willing to pay $200 to show that ad. Your ad gets shown. Mine doesn't. The scale is much smaller than that. It's not going to cost you $200 to show one person your ad, usually. I've never seen it, but I'm sure it could happen. So the CPM is basically that. It's like, how much are you paying to show your ads to people? that can be determined by the niche that you're in. It can be determined by the messaging that you use, and it can be determined by the quality of the audience. So I'm sure there are a lot more factors if I thought, like I said, to think about it. But essentially, it's like if I'm operating in health, people are willing to pay a lot more money in health than if if I'm selling shoes in e-commerce or like makeup in e-commerce, right? So if I'm running makeup ads, my CPM is probably going to be $30, $40. If I'm running health info ads, you see my CPM last 7 was $150. So much more expensive to do that. Also, the messaging that I use, if I'm using words that Meta finds to be a little bit more abrasive or hurtful, harmful to the user experience, they're probably going to charge me more. If I use words that are good, Meta's going to charge me less. So if I say something like, hey, are you looking to cure your diabetes? I could never say that in an actual ad because that would be not good. Like that would probably get my ad blocked. But if I say, do you want to cure your diabetes? The algorithm's going to see it. It's going to be like, hey, this is an ad for curing diabetes. So we're going to show it to people who have diabetes, which is a more expensive thing. But then also, it's probably going to hurt the user experience, make people feel bad that they have diabetes in the first place. So I'm going to penalize these guys and give them a higher CPM. And the creative is like very targeted for pain. And it's like, hate diabetes, scared to lose your foot, right? You couldn't say that. But all of these little things that are negative pings, they'll shoot your CPM up. So you can gauge the quality of the audience usually by the CPM. The more expensive it is, usually the better, versus if it's super, super cheap. If you're getting $2, $3, $10 CPMs, that doesn't make sense. You're getting a crap audience. If you're in the normal range, and this you just kind of have to get used to it and get experience, but if you're in the normal range for whatever your niche is, then you're like, okay, cool, we're targeting the right audience. If I'm going for in health, I know that I'm probably going to get between like 120 and 150. So if I'm in that ish range, then I know that I'm getting kind of the right people. You said if you paid more, the lower spending ad doesn't show up. So what happens with their money? With whose money? But if you have a revolutionary product that actually cures diabetes, if you do have a product that actually cures diabetes, Facebook will not believe you. So there you go. Can you use keywords in Meta, like target certain people, search for certain keywords? No, but you can keyword stuff your ads to show them to the right people. For example, if I say, hey, Amazon sellers in my ad, the algorithm's going to know to serve my ad to people who are Amazon sellers. Or if I say, hey, fatty, you want to lose weight? It's going to know to show my ad to people who are interested in weight loss. So you can do that, but there's no search on Meta that would allow you to do keyword targeting. So CPM is a reflection of how much you're paying to get 1,000 impressions. If you figure out what kind of CPM your niche should have and you're within that range, you're fine. The CPM is one of the two factors that's going to determine your CPC. So your clicks here, this is obviously how many people are engaging with your ads and going to your landing page. There are different types of clicks. Link clicks or outbound clicks, those are the ones you want to look for because that's how many people clicked on your button or on your link. The CTR is ideally you want it to be most people when they do meta ads, they're looking for 1% as the baseline. Here you can see my last 7 is 3%. So is Jonathan actually a good copywriter or does he just lie? Well, you can make that decision on your own based on the stats that you see here. But my click-through rate, really great. So despite having a pretty high CPM with 150, which is like, it actually is very high, because my click-through rate is really good, that means that I know I'm targeting a good audience with the messaging that is resonating. My CPM is high because I'm competing against other really like health style offers, but my CTR is high because my messaging is so good. And so that determines my cost per click. If my funnel is broken, I can immediately look at these two columns and know where it's broken. If I'm not making any money, it's either because it's costing me too much for traffic or I'm not making enough money on the traffic that I've got. Here you can see my cost per click is $5 is pretty high, but it's not crazy. It wouldn't be crazy if I was actually making money. My EPC, my earnings per click, is really low. So, what does that tell me? That tells me that the problem is that my funnel is broken. But if, for example, I thought that my ads were broken, I could look here and I could see, okay, is my funnel doing worse because my CPM is going up? Is my funnel doing worse because my CTR is going down? And then that helps me determine what my next move is if I need to change my ads. In my funnel, I can see here I've actually got my funnel performance. So let's just say here, I've got my VSL page conversion rate, I've got my disqualification rate, I've got my qualification rate, and I've got my booked call percentage. So those are the stats that matter in my funnel. We can go back to the ad performance tab after to look at costs for all of these, but just for right here, the VSL page conversion rate, if I see that performance drops, I can look here and ask myself, did performance drop because my funnel conversion rate went down? Here, it's basically, since we started, been around 3. Last 7, it's been at 2.3, last 14 at 2.8, last 30, 3.5. So it's whatever, it's not bad. For a VSL funnel, I'm expecting between like 3 and 5%-ish. Right now we're at a low spend. There's a lot of stuff going on. My messaging on the funnel itself is not super locked in because this is what we launched with. It was more general. We had no data. So there are a lot of improvements to be made for sure. But this isn't, like, I'm not worried about this really because my qualified apps and my book calls are still fine. So here, for example, if I go to, these are my funnel stats starting here, application submitted all the way up until cost per booked call. So again, if I see that my funnel is broken, I can come here and I can start to look at these stats. And looking at these stats, then I can see which part of my funnel is broken. Application submitted and cost per application. Here, it's pretty consistent between $100 and $150, so that's good. But my cost per application is not super important. What's actually important is my qualified apps. Because who cares how many people I get into my funnel? I just want qualified people in my funnel. If I get fewer qualified people in my funnel and more disqualified people in my funnel, then I know that there's a messaging issue that's attracting the wrong people in my funnel. If I'm getting more qualified people, fewer disqualified people, then I know that my messaging is good. So here I can look and I know that my conversion rate is down overall in my funnel. But if I look here, my qualified application percentage is 70% in the last 7 versus 50% in the last 30. And my cost per qualified is at $200, which is crazy. This is so good, right? That's only costing me $200 to get a qualified application. So I'm okay with the lower front end conversion rate because more people are coming through who are qualified buyers, right? So this is not broken. If I were just looking at the funnel in isolation, then I could say, like, oh no, I need to change something because my conversion rate is way down. It's only at 2.3 and I want to get to 5. Like, yeah, if you're looking just at the funnel conversion rate, that's the conclusion you would come to. But if I'm looking at all of the stats in the funnel, my cost per qualified is actually down. So I'm actually moving in the right direction with a lower conversion rate on my VSL page, right? So now I'm looking at my cost per qualified and I'm like, okay, cool. Yesterday, for example, I had 5 qualified applications, which is crazy, right? And then I've got some days where I've got here, I've got 4, I've got 4, I've got 5, I've got 5, I've got 4, I've got 4, right? Like everything's going super well. And here, just in the last 7, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 5. This, I've made no changes at all to my messaging in this last little period. But I did launch a new ad around here, like somewhere around there. So I know, well, not a new ad, but a new ad set. I know that this type of ad is doing really well for us, and I know that it's helping us move in the right direction. So I'm cool running just this ad because I know that downstream things are working better. By broken, do you mean non-cohesive or technically broken? By broken, I just mean that there's something in here that is not aligned with my goal metrics. So I know how much I can afford based on my funnel math for each for each sale, for each call, for each application, for each whatever, right? So I can do the math backwards to figure out the program is either 10K or 30K. I can do the math backwards to figure out how much I can afford to spend. If I know that one sale is worth $10,000 to me, and I reverse engineer that, and I'm like, okay, cool. My show rate is, let's say, 40%. So I can afford whatever the amount is. I'm not going to actually do the math. But if I'm selling for 10,000, 40% of people show up, I know how much I can pay for one person to show up. If um, then I guess my step before that would be how many people book. Then I can figure out based on that how much I can afford for each booking. People who are qualified, how many of them turn into bookings, then I know how much I can afford for each qualified app. And then if I know what my conversion rates are for people who come in who get qualified, I know how much I can pay per app. And then if I know what my conversion rate is for people who land on the page who apply, I know how much I can afford to pay per landing page view, which is my cost per click essentially. It's not always going to be exactly the same, but just high level, like keep it as simple as possible. Then I can figure out my cost per click. So from that, then I can say, okay, cool. Let me just, this is at our old price point, so what you're about to see is not correct. Whoops. No. There we go. This is not correct with the current price point, but at the old price point of $5,000, I know that with a $5,000 price point, $3,800 of that is profit. With that, then I know that I can afford $760 per show. With that, I know that I can afford $342 per booked call, which means I can afford $307 per qualified app, which means I can afford 138.51 per app total, which means I can afford 550 per landing page view, which means that then that's how I kind of do my math for each of these pieces of creative. So that is, if something were broken, it would be, it's outside of KPI. Kind of a silly question, but do I have to know this stuff inside and out to reach out, like funnel, CPC, CTRs? You don't need to know this stuff if you're just going to be a copywriter, but this is how you get to the next level. Like this is when you get really, really, really good. It's because you know all this stuff, and then you're becoming more of a business like growth expert as opposed to just a copywriter. Like this is what makes people enjoy working with me so much because I can look at this data and then I can be like, oh, clearly this is what we do next. This is the thing that we've got to do to prioritize this part of the funnel to get these results, to bring this back within KPI to that, because nobody knows how to do this, right? So when you learn how to do this, crazy advantage. I've only learned this from working with other people, so I don't know if there are resources to teach you this. But just keep coming to office hours and then like you'll pick up on this stuff. You said if someone paid $200 to show their ad and I paid $100 to show my ad doesn't show up. Could you please explain it and what we should do in this situation? There's nothing you can do. This is just how the algorithms work. Like you can put cost caps and bid caps and stuff, but this is just the algorithm. So if you're competing against a lot of people, the algorithm is going to take more money to show it to less people. There's nothing we can really do to control that. As much as I wish I had a good answer for you, that's like, it's just, it happens. We kind of let it happen. Going back to this, so I see my qualification rate is up, which is why my cost per qualified is so cheap. I'm just getting more of the right people coming in, so that's good. And then my book call percentage, about 60% of people, which is fantastic. So I'm not worried about anything there. And then my cost per call is at about 360, so it's trending down, so doing better there as well. So everything's good. And then I look at my call stats. So that's all the way up until here. Or I guess the rest of this, but then this would help me determine if it's a sales team issue. This I can actually, I can take ownership of these columns because if someone schedules and they don't show up, then there are things that I can do on the, see Yusuf, there are things that I can do on the marketing side and the automation side to increase show rate. like run retargeting ads and show people more content before the call and have emails and SMS and whatever. So there are things that I can do to increase the call show rate, and that'll decrease the cost per show. But for sales and all this, I guess there are things that I can do as well. Like I can nurture people and pre-sell them and do stuff. But this also, the sales team comes into play here. So when we're looking at attribution and data, we just break things down like this with each of the steps of the funnel and each of the important metrics that we need to look at. So then we can figure out what's broken and what's not broken. Any questions about this before we move on to just looking at the attribution itself? So we should raise more money in this case. The more you can spend, the more ads you can put out and show to people. So always ideal to spend more money. Right, cool. So no questions on this. So how do we determine all of these things with the calls and with the apps and stuff? I have automation set up that pull in all of our apps. So every time someone fills in the form, it populates in this sheet, and then this gets auto-calculated in my other sheet. This is for the bookings, so every time somebody books, it gets auto-populated in here as well. And then on Meta, for info, the software that most people use is called Hyros. For e-commerce, most people use a software called Triple Whale. They essentially do the same. So what Hyros does is that it tracks the customer journey so that you can see exactly what is happening to your leads. So for example, I can go in here, let's say this person. You can see that he came in through this ad, ended on my page here, saw the VSL, variation B. He was qualified, but he did not book a call because there's nothing in here that says that he booked a call. So I can see their entire customer journey, which is really, really cool because it gives me a lot of data. And then I can also see in the reporting, I'll just go to yesterday. I can see in the reporting where everything came from. So I can see the different sources. Here we've got YouTube Shorts, we've got YouTube Description, we've got Meta. I can see that we got 9 leads generated from YouTube description links, which is really cool. So I can jump into here and I can go and see, just sort by leads. The video that was published on, what would this be, May, January, February, March, April, May, yeah, May 28th, 2025, generated 3 leads for us yesterday, but 0 calls. The video from December 7th generated 2 leads for us, 0 calls. If I go down here, though, I can see that the video from August 20th generated 1 call, which right now I'm just looking at yesterday. But if I look at a longer time horizon, like last 30 days, and I look again at YouTube description, I can see that there were some videos that generated a lot more calls than others, right? And so I can say, cool, this generated a crazy number of leads and a good number of calls. This generated a crazy number of leads and a good number of calls as well. This generated almost no leads, but it generated a lot of calls, relative. These ones generated a lot of leads, but almost no calls. So then I can go and I can say, okay, cool, this was a video published on the 6th of January of 2025. So then I can go into my backend. I can check and I'll sort, oops. And I'll sort by date, okay? So I can go to January of 2025, and what was the day? It was January 6th. So this video, fast way from 30% to 10%. 2,500 comments is crazy. 2 million views is crazy, right? So if I were to think about making new content, I would say, okay, cool, this is probably one of the things that I want to do again this year or like in the next little bit because this generated a ton of leads for us. But did we actually get any money? Last 30 days, where did our sales come from? Our sales in the YouTube description came from video published on November 30th, a video published on October 12th, a video published on November 2nd, and a video published on August 20th. So if I know that these are the revenue generating videos, I can go and I can use that then. And I can say, okay, cool. November 20th, that was here. Fix your sleep in 3 steps, backed by science. Almost 0 views. But, wait, no, sorry, my bad. This was the 30th. So not 20th, 30th would be here. Fastest way to burn visceral fat. 52,000 views, so not a huge number of views like the other one, but this generated money for us. What else? 1012 and 1102, so 1102 and 1012. Insulin tricks that'll kill visceral fat fast. Permanent way to lose visceral fat. Fastest way to burn visceral fat. So do you guys see the connection there for the videos that are generating revenue for us? We have full access to the Dr. Mike channel. That is what we're looking at. So yes. So then I can determine within all of our traffic sources where we're getting money, and I can make more strategic decisions based on that. If I want to look at just the ads, then I can go down here into Meta, and the way that the Meta works is a little bit different because it's going to break it down here by campaign, and then by ad set, and then by ad within that ad set. So that's why naming conventions are important, so that you can identify these things. But I can see here that my only sale, which came I think like 2 or 3 days ago, my only sale this month was from the controversy alt hook. And if I look at my cost per call, I had the best cost per call on my controversy time hook. So what does that tell me? It tells me that controversy is the best hook for these ads. So I can make decisions based on that. And if I look inside of my Meta Ads account, it's really cool because I can use the Hyros extension here to just populate all of that same data into my ads manager. Normally the ads manager doesn't have this, but with the Hyros extension, I can just pull that and then customize the columns I want. So I can put in my leads, my calls, my sales, and my revenue, which if I do maximum time frame and I jump into here, I can see what our best ads historically have been as soon as that loads. So I've got this one here generated sale, this one here generated 3 sales, this one generated 2 sales, this one generated 2 sales. So then I can open those up. These are the ad sets, so not the ads themselves, but I can open these up. And then I can go into here and I can see which ads specifically generated those sales. So we got this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And then I'll just do a filter so that we only see those ads. And I'll turn this off so we can see the full names. So now I know that these 5 ads are the ones that have generated sales for us. And I can start to do a little bit of data analysis there too. I can see, okay, cool. Controversy alt, podcast interview ad, contrarian time, talking head ad, secret alt, talking head ad, contrarian alt, talking head ad, contrarian time, talking head ad. And then this is the copy that they were using. So this one was using age well, this one was using social proof, social proof, social proof, social proof. But I also know that this one got the most sales out of all of them. So then I know if I'm doing like a bigger ad set with multiple coffee variations, use these 2 coffee variations and use these pieces of creative because I know that these are the ones that get sales. Does all of that make sense? I'll see you on Friday. Perfect. So this is like once you get really, really, really good at copy, like copy, it's because you're doing stuff like this. You're looking at the data and you're like, okay, cool. I know that this is getting this result, so do more of this and do less of the stuff that's not getting the results. So it's just decision making based on the feedback that you're getting from the stuff that you're running, which if you're not working with a sophisticated business, it's going to be harder to do for sure. But if you do have the opportunity to get data and to look at data, this is how to do it. Now, I know that our girl Mariam had questions about creative strategy. So, would you like to bring to the table exactly what your questions were, and we can get into those? Ooh. And then afterwards, I think I'm going to lay down, put some anime on in the background, listen to Rock Lee fighting Gara, close my eyes, wake up again in 4 or 5 hours. I'm always grinding. Right now, I'm working on some really cool stuff for Dr. Mike. I want to get us to a point where we're running kind of like a publishing model. Okay, cool. We're running like a publishing model, and it's funny because I've been thinking about this for about a week, just with the GPT workflow and stuff that I'm building out. I'm like, how much of this can I create to make the process as simple as possible so we can scale as quickly as possible? And then I'm like, how cool would it be if we had these GPT workflows and we had multiple brands underneath Sculpt by Science, because Sculpt by Science is the main brand. So if we have the main brand of Sculpt by Science, and then we have like Dr. Mike's health brand, Dr. Mike's mindset / high performance brand, and then we have his sister, Dr. Penelope. If we had her brand, and then we had like 2 or 3 other brands, and each of those brands was run by a copywriter / strategist, and we had maybe one media buyer to cover all the brands, and we had each of these brands are responsible for different avatars, and that would make it so that the person who's the strategist copywriter, and maybe they have also a junior copywriter or whatever, but the person who's running that brand underneath Sculpt by Science, they would be able to focus on just that one brand voice, just that one audience, or maybe multiple variations of the same audience. And they would take care of everything for that brand. So, like all the long form stuff, all the short form stuff, all of the organic, all of the paid, and then they would get to make really, really good offers and really good copy for that specific sub brand that all funnels back up into Sculpt by Science at the end, right? So I've been thinking about how we can build stuff like that out. And Dr. Mike on, I think, Monday or Tuesday, he was like, hey, what do you think about doing something like this? And I was like, well, I've been thinking about doing something like this. So I'm just really excited to get us to a point where we can scale. Big bottleneck right now is just the sales process needs to get better. And once we can start closing deals on paid, then for sure we're going to close more on organic as well. And then we can hire people, and then I can start to build this. All right, just so we're not running the same style of creative, just creative diversity in general, ideas and stuff. Russell Brunson said polished ads with heavy scripting don't work anymore, and talking head concept sounds more human. He said just filming ads from his phone and talking did way better. I would challenge anything that you hear from gurus ever, because I have some insider information that hold on. I just want to find the right one. I'll show you multiple examples, or I can show you multiple examples. I don't know if there's one that starts with a woman. Her name is Helene Wilder. She's just like a guru type of person. The reason I want to show you that one specifically, I think it's actually in the creative swipe file that I put together for you guys. Almost that. Okay, anyway. It's one that's kind of like this, just with a different person. But you'll see that most of what Russell's running right now is produced like this. So one thing to realize is that gurus lie, period. Another thing to realize is that look how produced this is. Gurus most of the time actually have no idea what's going on in their business because they're not the ones who are managing the ads and whatever. So they are just surrounded by yes men who tell them every idea you have is the best, and they don't actually know what's up. So Russell may have said that, but then look at this ad. And I know that the ad that I'm referring to, the one that's more cinematic, it's basically the same style as this. It had over $1 million in spend behind that single ad. So maybe Talking Head. I know that he's running 3 or 4 variations of, sorry, not Talking Head, but like walk and talk, face to camera, iPhone kind of thing. Maybe that's working really well, but they've got more like this running in the account than they do. That's just um, Russell talking to his phone. Do you run ads to gain more followers, or is every ad to sell? Every ad is always to sell. You should never run ads to gain more followers. Let's see. I'm gonna pull something up. So here is something that I dropped for you guys a little while ago. I think I put it in Gen Chat. But this is basically it's mostly for info. A few ecom examples in here, but this is basically every creative concept that I could think of. So you got B-roll, you got case study style ads, day in the life, event clips, green screen style, on location, podcast interview, product demos, skits, social media comment reply, street interview, talking head, testimonials, UGC, viral content, walk and talk, and whiteboard. So I don't think there's much outside of that. This pretty much covers it. Just try to do as much as you can. You'll see that with Dr. Mike, talking head is the easiest to do for sure. That's why most people just do talking head. But here we've got a podcast interview. So that's a little bit of a different concept. And then here we've got the talking head. Just him talking to the camera. So my next step, I've got an ad set that's gonna go live on Tuesday. This one right here to test more body copy because that's the next thing I want to do. And then I'll roll my podcast and my talking head ads with 3 variations of copy each, hopefully. There's something that takes off in here. But I've got 2 winning variations of copy right now. So then I'll throw in all of my winning videos, and now there's going to be a little bit more diversity with 3 variations of ad copy, and then like just start to scale from there. But we're low budget, which is why I don't have a lot more testing going on. Should I put that link in the description of the OH recording? Yeah, if you want to. It's in the community resources, so everyone should have access to it. Did you write the ad script also, or just the creative caption? I write everything. I am the one man paid marketing department at this for this brand. So everything that we do, period, like anything that you would see from Sculpt by Science that is an ad or a funnel or whatever, is something that I've touched. Is there anything else that we were supposed to cover? because we're coming up on 2 hours now. So if not, then your boy is going to check out and take the rest of his Friday to chill. No problem. I'm glad that you guys find this useful. I can just snork. Oh, potentially. I've got to be well rested for tomorrow. My flight actually leaves like really late. It leaves at 6:30. So I'm not looking forward to it. Because usually, also it's like snowing like crazy these past few days. So I hope it doesn't snow tomorrow. But usually the later flights get delayed. So if it's like an hour and a half delay, that means that I'm leaving Montreal at 8. 3.5 hour flight to Texas. Texas is 1 hour behind those, so get one of those hours back. Then if I land around like 10:30 Texas time, by the time I get my bags and stuff, it's 11. By the time we drive back to the house, it's midnight-ish. Then it's like you gotta have sex for 6 hours. So by the time I'm going to sleep, like sun's coming up. It's crazy. But no, last thing that we could touch on is ecosystems, but I think that's a conversation for another time. All right, so it seems like everybody is good. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate all of you. Next Friday we will have office hours, but the Friday after that is going to be the 26th of December. So I'm going to be doing a Christmas thing with Lena's friends that day. So no office hours on the 26th, but there will be office hours next week, and then the week after that on the 2nd of January, there will be office hours again. If you guys are not already interested in the events, just scroll all the way up to the top on the left side of Discord where it says 2 events. You can click on that, and then just click on interested under the office hours event. I'm actually going to cancel just the 26th. There we go. So if you're not already interested, then you can click that. That way you get the notification when we go live and you can be sure to show up. But yes, I was actually thinking of doing potentially a 2025 like goal setting, etc. Or sorry, not 2025, 2026 goal setting, etc. So if you guys are interested in that and more of like a personal development growth kind of office hours episode next week, then we can do that. Is that something that you guys feel like you would enjoy? Yeah? Cool. All right. The framework that I will use for all the business stuff is, I forget who the author is, but someone created a program called the 90-day year, which the idea is instead of setting yourself yearly goals, set a quarterly goal and then just work back from there. So I really need to figure out for the next 90 days, like through January, February, March, what am I doing with Dr. Mike? What projects am I prioritizing? What steps am I taking to move towards that? And then setting myself timelines there. So that's what I'm going to be working on. And all right, yeah. So I guess Ali Abdal has a similar thing. So that's kind of the framework that I like to use. And then in terms of personal goals, basically all of my personal life is my work life. So there's nothing much. It's just like I work out every day already. I eat well already. I have a really good relationship with my girlfriend. I have really good relationships with my brother and sister. So there's not going to be too much personal stuff. But caveat there is that it's because I've been doing personal development actively for like actually over 10 years now. How crazy is that? I got into personal development in like 2013-ish. So I have for a long time known what I want and what I want to move towards and how to do it. So that is like that's why I'll say I just have it all figured out on the personal side because I've been doing it for so long and it's habit and it's routine. I do what I need to do and I don't do the stuff that's bad. Like it's easy. So if you guys do want to work on stuff like that, please come with those kinds of things and we can work on them together and like brainstorm and ideate and create game plans. Just know that I'm not going to be working on stuff like that because all of that is already good on my side. I'm just going to be working on business stuff. How did Dr. Mike trust you with his channel when you first started working with him? He just thought I was really smart and good. And so whatever, his wife actually, Anna, she every time I would ask for something, she's like, "Why?" And And I'm like, so I can see the data. So she was a little bit more hesitant, but Dr. Mike's a really cool and trusting guy. And I had a lot of authority going into that relationship. Last OH, what Jonathan's learned in 10 years of personal development. I can give you the one rule for personal development. Lena actually, she has a joke when she talks to people or when she talks to me, and she's like trying to be snarky a little bit. Um, she says sometimes when she's talking about problems for like her own problems or for other people's problems, I will always be completely transparent. Just pinning that. Because I believe that people who are not transparent, they're trying to hide something from you, right? And there's that. But then also, I believe that nobody will ever make worse decisions with more information. So the more information you have, the better the decisions you can make. Therefore, the more information I can give you, the better decisions you're going to make for yourself or for the business or for whatever. So I will always be completely transparent. I will always be completely honest. I will always tell you the truth because I have nothing to hide and because I think that you're going to perform better if I do that. I also don't have anything to sell you, right? So I would run away to Lebanon if I saw that. Um, if like I have nothing to sell you, so there's no reason for me to hide any kind of information. 'Cause some people will hide information from you to be like, well, buy my course and you'll learn it, right? Like, who cares? My opinion, if you're a good marketer, go market something. Right? Like, don't try to sell how to do marketing to other people who want to learn how to do marketing. There are exceptions to that, like Ryan Dice, Frank Kern. These are good, genuine, honest guys. They give a lot of information out for free. Their programs are also really, really good. I've learned more from Frank Kern than I think from anybody else in the marketing space. So I'm not dissing everyone who sells information, like Sean, Alex. Of course, those guys are great as well. Kyle Milligan's fantastic. I actually just found a video on my drive of us, like in Florida, me, Rod, Sean, Alex, Kyle, and Noah, the video guy, like us cheersing at a restaurant. It was a cool throwback. But um, there are some good guys, but most of the people who sell marketing and copywriting suck, and they sell marketing and copywriting instead of doing actual marketing and copywriting, right? And they are very predatory in the way that they do their sales. They're just trying to take advantage of newbies who don't really know what's up, and they make a lot of money doing it, so it's working. Like if that's their goal to just make money and not care, then fantastic, they're doing the best. But that is not a philosophy that I align with, so that's not what I ever want to do. Here's a paper and 30 minutes, write me copy. That's not a cool update. But to go back to what I was putting a pin in before, um, I can't remember. What was I saying? It was about Miriam's thing. Oh well. If anybody remembers, you can remind me. If not, then one lesson. Oh yeah, okay, cool. Thank you. So one lesson. If you were to ask me, Jonathan, what is the one thing that has made the biggest difference in your life? What is the one thing that I can implement that will make the greatest difference in my life? It's so dumb and it's so simple, and you're gonna laugh and be like, "Oh, that's stupid." And yes, 100%. But this is literally it. There's no more to personal development than this. And it was actually my friend Johnny who said this for the first time to me. And I thought it was so great that I just started repeating it to everybody. Johnny, he used to do coaching for like executive high level bank people. And it was leadership coaching. So it's like better communication and how to manage your employees and stuff like that. And Johnny told me at the end of the day, personal development, all it is, coaching, like everything like that, it just boils down to do the right stuff, don't do the wrong stuff. Right? Like that's it. If you want to change anything about your life, just exercise a little bit of self control, do the right stuff, and don't do the wrong stuff, and you will drastically change your life. Right? There's nothing more to it. Exactly. It's the health advice, it's the everything advice. If you want to grow your business, do the right stuff, don't do the wrong stuff. Now the question becomes then like, what is the right stuff? What is the wrong stuff? And that's where you typically need a little bit more support because if you don't know, there's no way you can know. You can do research, you can read books, you can go through courses, you can pay for coaching. Um, I don't believe in accountability, right? Like I obviously have some kind of mental illness, which makes me able to do this stuff by myself really well. But most people don't have the whatever I have in my brain. So some people do need accountability. But at the end of the day, it's holding yourself accountable, being responsible for your own outcomes, and knowing that everything that you experience is directly connected to your actions, right? So if you were to ask me what is the best way to get myself in that mind space, I would say identity. And then that becomes a much deeper conversation because all of your actions are always going to be aligned with who you believe you are, right? So if I say 100%, yes, I agree. If I say I am a failure, then I'm going to embody that identity. If I say I am a successful person, I am. If any of you follow me on Instagram, you know that my Instagram handle is at Real King Chad, right? Why is that? Because I just went through a phase where I was like, I'm a Chad, I'm a Chad, and I just over and over and over again repeated that to myself to internalize it to get to the point where I am. I remember when I started personal development, I would stand in the mirror, look at myself, and or stand in front of the mirror and look at myself and just repeat positive affirmations to myself. Like I am a da da da, I am a da da da, I whatever thing I was trying to embody. So flipping your identity to telling yourself that you are this person, then if you are this person, you will take these actions, and if you are taking these actions, you will get these outcomes, right? For example, Peter, he is an athlete, he's a marathon runner, right? If he tells himself, I am a runner, and he believes that he is a runner, he's not going to have any trouble going for a run every day, right? It wouldn't make sense. Why would a runner not go for a run? If I tell myself, Jonathan, I'm like, I am one of the best marketers in the world, which I genuinely do believe that because I've met so many people who are not good, but I'm sure that I guarantee there are hundreds of people who are smart like I am when it comes to this stuff. But most of the people, like 99% of them who call themselves marketers, have no idea how to do any of the stuff that we were just talking about. Or like they don't even know they should be doing that kind of stuff. So I am, and I guarantee, one of the best marketers in the world when it comes to specifically direct response marketing for info products. I probably wouldn't be a good ecom marketer. I probably wouldn't be a good SaaS marketer. I probably wouldn't be a good like corporate B2B guy. I can figure all this out, right? Like I've got the track record in all of these things to know that I'm good. But there are for sure people who are like significantly better than me by a lot in those things. But when it comes to direct response info marketing online, I doubt that I could meet anybody that would teach me anything that I don't already know. Right? So that is my philosophy. And maybe I'm just being dumb, right? Maybe there's a million things I don't know, and I'm actually just so egotistical that I believe I know it all, whatever. But if that's the identity I have, then I have no issue doing the work that I do because in my mind, doing this is required for me to have this identity. And me having this identity means that I'm the type of person to do this. So it's easy for me to spend how many ever hours looking at data to figure out what to do to plan all my stuff and just keep working because I'm like, well, that's literally who I am, right? And then I also now at this point in my life, I have external pressure. For example, if Dr. Mike hires me and he hired me because so many people have told him like Jonathan's such a good marketer and he's like, wow, I really need Jonathan on my side. And it's funny whenever he introduced me to people at the beginning, like other people in the team, he'd be like, Jonathan does not need to be here. Like, Jonathan could do literally anything else. We are not paying Jonathan anything, right? They are paying me, but like, they're not paying me anything compared to what I could be making, right? So he's like, we're not paying Jonathan anything. Like, he is so above the level that this business needs. He's going to help us scale to like over $1 million a month. And that's not going to be hard with this. Like, they're at 200,000 a month already. So it's whatever. But Dr. Mike has so much faith in me, right? And the rest of the company has so much faith in me. Be, do, have, exactly. And for sure know your results. Like all of this, it just creates a positive feedback loop where if you've got now that external pressure, you've got the positive feedback, you've got all these things telling you, yes, you are this person. You had to fake it at first, right? You just had to lie to yourself. But after long enough of lying to yourself, you start to believe it. And then after you believe it, you start to get the results. And then after you get the results, you start to get the external pressure from taking on these high level tasks and like working with these bigger companies. All of this stuff, if you're smart about it and if you're actually a good person, all of this turns into this positive upward spiral that then launches you into the place where I am now. So I'm very, very grateful. I've had a lot of opportunity. I've met a lot of amazing people who've taught me a lot, who've given me the right connections, who've helped me get to the place where I'm at. But at the end of the day, none of this would have happened if it didn't start with the identity. So create that identity for yourself. Tell yourself, I am this person. And then with that person, you take certain actions, and with those actions, you get certain results. And that, I would say, is literally anything in personal development. It just boils down to that. Ayub's update. The cool update is my first project with Sam is about to hit 100k views, which will transfer into a minimum of 200k worth of super qualified leads if things go right. The other bit is I found my idea for my next MarketWise application, and it's juicy. Incredibly based. You're doing a great job, Ayub, and I am very proud of you. Good work. Ending 2025 off on the right note. Does anybody else have any big goals that they're working towards right now? All right, cool. W's in chat. We can talk about it next week as well, but I see Vin is typing. I'm not sure what Vin's real name is. I don't think we've ever had the opportunity to meet or talk. I've seen Vin in past office hours, I think, though. Like last week or the week before that, maybe. Have my first client. Let's go. How long ago did you start, Bobby? John, which books do you recommend for self-development and about business? That is a good question. For personal development, my favorite book is actually the first book that I ever read on personal development. It's the 21 Irrefutable in July. Oh, okay, cool. And you've still got hella time. um, so the first book I ever read was the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. That one, I think, really impacted me because it made me realize that, and I don't know if he says this in the book, it's just, oh, Lena Russell's calling. Give me one sec, friends. All right, friends. Yeah, sorry. Uh, it was my girlfriend who called me. So the Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is fantastic. I don't think that he says this in the book, but what I took away from it was that you should be a leader in all aspects of your life. And so if you can embody that sense of leadership, then necessarily you will bring people towards the outcomes that they want to get to. And it kind of reinforced to me like you have to be a good person because there are always people following you and you're always setting an example, like a lot of really good lessons. So I would say 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership from John C. Maxwell is my number one personal development book. There's a personal development program. It used to be like an audio, like a tape or like a CD course. I imagine they sell it digitally, from Tony Robbins called Personal Power 2. That is for sure my favorite course for personal development. And then if you were to ask me for business, it just depends specifically on what business things you would want to learn because I've got different ones that I like for different reasons. The 48 Laws of Power is definitely not one of my favorite books. I actually think it's super cringe and I don't like Robert Greene at all. I believe sharing your goals with others makes you more motivated. I think I've read it gave you fake dopamine that you did something when you actually didn't. To me, sharing my goals with others helps me apply pressure to myself because I care a lot what other people think, as counterintuitive as that might sound. Because obviously, Jonathan lives a very, well, I guess not obviously, you guys don't know me personally, but in real life, I'm the same way that I am on the internet. So I live a very ridiculous life, and I am always the center of attention, and people always have a good time when I'm around. Not all people, some people hate it, including my mother. But I am very gregarious. So, like, I like being loud, I like getting a lot of attention, and I like that people think good things about me. But I also don't care when people think negative things about me because I'm like, I'm just living my truth. Right? So I do that in the least cringy way possible because I'm also very socially well adjusted. But all that to say that because I do care what other people think about me, if I tell people that I have a certain goal, then it motivates me to do that thing because my identity is that Jonathan doesn't give up and Jonathan's not a failure. So I don't want people to think that Jonathan has given up or that Jonathan is a failure. Therefore, it forces me to take the actions. We'll just give Yasin a second to finish typing, and then if we're all good, we can do more of a. Oh, okay. Bro, just coming back. Yeah, we're going to end it then, unless Omar has anything else he wants to say. But after that, then I'll let you guys go, and we can reconvene next week for a little bit of goal setting and personal development. Cool. Well, thank you very much, guys, for showing up. Thanks for staying the whole almost 2.5 hours at this point. I think that so like as we were going through this, someone asked, I can't remember who, like, where do I go to learn this kind of stuff? And I said, oh, well, you can't really go anywhere to learn this kind of stuff. And I just learned it from other people. Um, that is kind of what I want to do in office hours more than anything else is just talk to you guys about the stuff I'm doing because that's where a lot of learning is going to come from. Like things that you didn't even realize you could do, you're going to learn because somebody else is like, oh, yeah, I did this. Let me show you. Right. Or, oh, I'm running into this problem and here's how we fix it. You're like, oh, I didn't even know that this problem existed. And, and then as you file those things away in your brain, when it comes time to work on a big project or to do something, you know that this is a possibility. Like if I showed you all the cool automation stuff that I can do, like here, for example, just to know that you can automate something like this, right? If you didn't know that, then that's a huge thing because with any of the campaigns that I'm running, with any of the funnels that I'm running, if I needed to do manual attribution and go in every day and write in like, okay, this person's email, they opted in at this day, whatever, that's going to take me a lot of time. And then I've got to go over here and I've got to enter it manually. But instead, what happens here is my total for my apps submitted, it's a formula. that calculates based on this. Frick. Ah, I hate this. There. But this is a formula that calculates based on this, which is a formula. Actually, not starting here. So let me find where the formula starts. There we go. Based on this formula, which is pulling from this tab, which is using the qualified or not qualified column to validate if the person should go here or if they should go here, right? And then those two things get totaled to go into here, right? So like just all of this stuff, if you don't know, you don't know. But if you see someone doing it, then you're like, oh shoot, that's possible, right? So then you're able to do it. And then that kind of opens your mind up and you're like, well, if that's possible, then what if I did this? Is that possible? And what if I did this? And now that we have AI with large language models, one thing they're really good at is searching product documentation. So I can go into ChatGPT or Perplexity and be like, hey, I'm trying to do this thing inside of my Google Sheets. What would be the best way to do that? And then it'll give you what you need to do. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, this is my tech stack, and I'm trying to achieve this goal. How could I do that? And then it'll be like, oh, well, you need to go from your type form, set up a Zap to feed this, to do this within your sheet, add this formula into this row, right? So all of that, like, you can't know unless you know. And that's my hope with office hours is to show you guys a little bit more of what is possible so that you can go off and you can do it on your own. And then you can become really awesome marketers. On that, my friends, I will leave you. Thank you very much again for showing up. I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you all next Friday.